I believe that cringe era of LinkedIn is finally over. The culture of LinkedIn is rapidly changing, and hear me out, on some levels, LinkedIn even became better than Twitter. I know what you're thinking, but let me explain. Something happened on LinkedIn from the middle of 2022 and up until 2023, and it's not only my observation, because I've seen more and more posts praising LinkedIn on Twitter. Ironic, I know. Content creators and celebrities, including some you'd never expect, started flocking to LinkedIn this year. And on top of that, Sarah Fryer, the author of an amazing book called No Filter covering Instagram, she wrote that LinkedIn is cool now. So I've decided to dive deep into this topic and explore why, despite appearing unchanged for years, something seems to be shifting for better on LinkedIn. Remember the days when everyone decided that Facebook is no longer cool and it was time for Instagram? Then, a couple of years later, Instagram lost its appeal and we all started making fun of millennials' content, selfies, and influencer culture, and TikTok became the new cool kid. Now they say that even TikTok becomes oversaturated and boring. But all this time, since 2002, LinkedIn remained LinkedIn, with its content creators, main characters, and memes. If you've spent any time on LinkedIn or observed its cringe era, you'll surely remember all those weird situations like the broidery, those long posts with line breaks after every sentence looking like poems, or overly candid and artificially vulnerable CEOs, especially after 2020 when many have to juggle work and personal life and became quite emotional on public. We also had all kinds of influencers discussing analogies between startups fighting corporations and Taliban's takeover of Afghanistan. You might also remember those silly and provocative polls made just for the sake of engagement. And of course, our beloved humble brags and fake stories about how once I hired someone with no experience, or one of my favorite, how I met a homeless person on my way to a job interview. Yes, not long ago, LinkedIn was suffering from a severe lack of original content. And that's perfectly understandable, because unlike all other social platforms, LinkedIn has its unique constraint. Everything you post on LinkedIn is under the constant surveillance from your current or potential employer, customer, or business partner. So this content void was filled with tremendously clickbait self-promotional posts from self-proclaimed experts and gurus, which instantly turned into memes. And this corporate cringe vibe became the defining feature of LinkedIn. And when any startup aimed to become the new professional social network, their primary differentiator was an anti-LinkedIn approach. And now, when Twitter has launched its own LinkedIn competitor, their engineer couldn't resist making a joke about LinkedIn and its user base, even though we all know that spam bots and humble brags and self-promotional posts are all over the Twitter. But we'll get to that in a moment. You know, I'm sure you've come across at least one of those YouTube videos or screenshots from different subreddits and Twitter profiles that aggregate the most epic examples of LinkedIn cringe. It's become an entire genre of memes, and some of the most talented shitposters have realized that such provocative cringe content could be an effective strategy to get followers, so they started intentionally making such type of content on LinkedIn. And among the most well-known are Alex Cohen, professional shitposter, as he calls himself on Twitter. Then we have Chris Bucky, founder of startup Lasky, which Twitter acquired this year to compete with LinkedIn. Also Jack Rains, who has found an ingenious way to convert LinkedIn shitposting into subscribers of his newsletter called Young Money, which I recommend to sign up for, by the way. Then, of course, we can't forget about Josh Thatcher, who hacked LinkedIn's algorithm back in 2017 to create viral content machine and is considered to be the pioneer of mentioned broidery genre. But besides of the shortage of the unique and useful content, LinkedIn, as every mature social platform, recently went through its midlife identity crisis. We've witnessed this complex period when LinkedIn decided to go all in on video. Then it wanted to be like Instagram by introducing stories just to remove them a year later. And then it aimed to mimic Clubhouse with audio rooms. And it went through all of these experiments just to get back to the roots. Now I believe LinkedIn has survived its midlife crisis, and we have a better understanding what this platform is all about and why it exists in the first place. To truly grasp LinkedIn, you need to realize one fundamental thing. Any aspect of our lives can be quite cringeworthy. Like searching for a new friend when you're over 30 is cringe. Dating and looking for a partner, cringe. Most of our hobbies, cringe. Seeking attention and approval on the internet, also cringe. Starting a YouTube channel and making your first crappy videos, super cringe. And of course, job hunting, which LinkedIn is primarily known for self-presentation and acting like a serious professional to advance your career and increase your income, can also be incredibly cringe. However, LinkedIn has become something more than just a platform for updating your resume and ignoring spammy DMs. LinkedIn has evolved into a platform for professionals and entrepreneurs and content creators. It's now filled with expert content like all kinds of newsletters, collaborative articles, courses, online events. And now it seems that LinkedIn has finally heard the complaints about the cringeworthy content going viral, and in 2023 they've made a significant algorithm update that gives you a wider reach among your followers and stops giving such a boost to viral posts. And what's more, 2 years ago they proposed removing all political content from your feed, which makes a total sense for them. Have you noticed that nearly every social platform, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, they've all been through a series of scandals related to user data breaches, misinformation, polarization, or foreign influence on elections? LinkedIn, on the other hand, always seems to be on the bright side, just chilling and watching this chaos from afar. Yes, LinkedIn has its own issues with spam bots, leaving ChatGPT-generated comments, but at least on LinkedIn you don't encounter the same volume of trolls and reply guys as on other social networks. As Alex Kantowitz, the author of Big Technology newsletter, rightly pointed out, unlike Twitter, where you can be anonymous, or Facebook, where you might lose a couple of friends at most, on LinkedIn there are real consequences for being a jerk. Thus, connecting with strangers on LinkedIn is as close to real life as it gets. In real life, a jerk might get punched in the face, and on LinkedIn it takes almost instant hate from karma, like losing the opportunity to find a job, a client, or a partner. And ironically, clickbait, provocative and polarizing content, aka unpopular opinions, have now found their home primarily on Twitter. Just a few months ago, Elon Musk introduced a new monetization program that caused even more chaos, because now creating such content is actively encouraged. The more polarizing tweet you make, the more replies and impressions you get, and the higher payouts from ad revenue share you receive. Some even refer to this new era of Twitter as Mr. Beastification of the platform. On Twitter 1.0 we had Thread Boys, but now on X Twitter we have Reply Boys, trying every possible way to accumulate views and subscribers to get into monetization program. Some accounts conduct useless giveaways, handing out money they earn from posts about the giveaway itself. Others just spam with memes and GIFs on their tweets of big accounts. Like I said, it's a mess. And what's interesting, the content that easily goes viral or at least popular on Twitter doesn't necessarily receive the same reaction on LinkedIn, largely thanks to the algorithm update that I've mentioned. Drunk Fan, who back in January 2022 wrote a brilliant piece on why LinkedIn is so cringe, posts threads on Twitter that get hundreds and thousands of likes and comments and millions of views, but his content on LinkedIn averages around 30 likes. Ironically, a year later, he also changed his opinion on LinkedIn, and on one of the podcasts, he admits that, while having its nuances, LinkedIn is great for content creators, and he actually recommends to start posting there. Other creators who also make content around the topic of business and entrepreneurship more and more often say that the same piece of content performs much better on LinkedIn than on Twitter. Yes, some LinkedIn creators occasionally complain about the decline in organic reach, but it seems like a temporary issue. The algorithm on LinkedIn is constantly balancing between popular authors and newcomers, and their numbers are growing every day. I mean, just look at these numbers. More than 10 million people enabled creator mode a year after its launch. LinkedIn now has at least 63,000 newsletters, 10 times more than a year ago. LinkedIn said 53 million individuals subscribed to a newsletter on the platform. There's a 41% increase in content this spring compared to 2021. And all of this despite the fact that LinkedIn actually doesn't have any creator monetization program. And it doesn't share ad revenue with creators. Its primary revenue comes from selling premium services, something that Twitter only dreams about. But to support creators, LinkedIn launched the Top Voices program. The LinkedIn team now organizes online meetups for them, sends out newsletters to creators, and keeps them updated on trending topics. And companies are also paying attention to content creators on LinkedIn, but they not only pay for shoutouts or sponsored posts from popular authors or thought leaders, but they're also increasingly relying on their employees' content. And you know why? Because an employee's profile has a wider reach than the company's profile that they work for. As LinkedIn itself says, an employee will have 10 times more first-level connections than a business will have LinkedIn company page followers. So your LinkedIn profile is much more valuable to your employer than you might thought. Besides creators, another crucial factor for the survival and growth of every social platform is having a younger audience on it. And if you think that LinkedIn is only for the older guys, I'll disappoint you. While Gen Z was growing up, LinkedIn was casually observing a great battle of social networks for the younger audience, just biding its time. Sooner or later, we all grow up and all young generations end up on LinkedIn, either to find a job or to scale their business. Just like many Gen Z may despise Facebook, but continue to use Facebook Marketplace if they need it. So how do you stop being grossed out by LinkedIn newsfeed and fall in love with this platform? The problem with LinkedIn is that over the years you accumulate hundreds of connections with people from various companies and industries with whom you have very little in common. The solution is simple. You just spend some time curating your feed and teaching your algorithm just like you would on any other social network. TikTok is a great example. Last year I spent a couple of hours just unfollowing hundreds of connections on LinkedIn. Former clients from various industries, partners and contractors from different countries, and of course those amazing people who just added me to sell me something. I just looked through my feed and realized that I don't actually have any common interest with those people. LinkedIn is a perfect place to make your own info bubble. In this era of content bombardment from all sides, sometimes you just want to retreat into your own small feed and track only what truly interests you. I can't speak from all industries, but in the creator economy and influencer marketing, where I've spent almost 10 years now, the vast majority of professionals who I follow and interact with on LinkedIn, they just don't pretend to be someone they're not, and they just don't post bullshit. The industry is small and it's immediately noticeable and affects your reputation. If this isn't something that you observe in your industry, I'm sorry to hear that, but you have every chance to become one of the first LinkedIn content creators in your niche, in your industry. And believe me, building your audience on LinkedIn opens many doors. And I'll leave you with that. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and I guess follow me on LinkedIn. There'll be a link in the description below, and see you in the next video.